Hey guys, welcome here to my channel. My name is Ipiwo. Today I'm bringing you a tutorial on how we can do a password reset using JavaScript with some validations. This is going to be an interesting one because we're going to take a look at regular expressions as we want to see, does the password contain any special characters and does it contain any numbers? And also what we're going to take a look at is this feature over here that if someone clicks on that icon, it will show you the password, and if you click on it again, it kind of does like a hidden password that people cannot see. So with no longer ado guys, let's get straight into this tutorial. So for those who are wondering, I'm using Visual Studio Code for my code editor, and I'm quickly going to go over through my HTML file and my CSS file, and then I'm going to jump into the JavaScript because that's where we're going to spend most of our time today. So I'm using Bootstrap to do most of my styling for my form, and I'm using Font Awesome for this icon you guys see over here. And then I have my container over here, which is going to display my error. And the only other thing is that I'm pulling in my JavaScript file here at the bottom. This is Bootstrap generated form with the Bootstrap classes, as you guys can see. I don't think there's anything special here that I need to point out to you guys. Let's quickly jump into the CSS and then we can go over to the JavaScript. So I'm going quickly to my CSS over here. So this is my CSS that I've set up quickly. I've just used on my body, I've done a display flex, align item center and justify center to centerize my form over here from bottom to top with 100 VH. So VH stands for view height, for you guys that didn't know that. And then what I want to bring your attention here is just this variable I'm using over here. It's called display error with a minus of 45 pixels. So what I'm doing is I'm hiding my div, my error div behind this form with a minus of 45 pixels, as you guys can see here, margin bottom. And then I'm going to use this variable in my JavaScript and manipulate it to say, okay, now display this div or reset it back to 45. So I'm going to use this variable in my JavaScript, and then the only other two things I can point out over here is these two classes, my invalid and valid class, where I have a border color which is that reddish color to show there's an error, and also to my valid class which has a green border to show that your password doesn't meet all the minimum requirements. I think that's it for my CSS. Let's head on over to the JavaScript. Okay guys, so let's head on over to the JavaScript file over here. You guys will see I already cleared out my JavaScript file. If I do anything in my form, it won't do anything because all my JS is gone. But let's quickly hook up my JS with the variables that I'm going to need for this project. The first one I'm hooking up, I'm calling it root because it's my document that get element, which is actually not get element but document element. So what this one does, it will allow me to get this variable in my CSS over here that I can manipulate using JavaScript. And secondly, the second variable I want to set up is called password underscore input. As you guys have guessed it, document that get element by ID, it's gonna get this input over here, the first input, and I call that first input password. And then I also want to hook up to my confirm password. I'm just gonna get const let me call it confirm underscore password, which is equal to document dot get element by ID, which was called password dash confirm. And then the other one I want to hook up to is that icon. I'm gonna call this one visibility underscore, let's call it toggle, visibility toggle, equals to document dot get element by ID, and I just call this one icon. Yeah, like the icon. And then the last one, I'm just gonna say const the display underscore error, which is that div I told you guys in my HTML, and I'm just gonna call this one, I'm gonna say document dot get element by ID, and I call this one password error. Okay, think I have everything I need over here. So I think I'm going to start off with a much basic one, the much easier one, which is going to be my visibility toggler over here. I'm going to start off with that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say visibility toggle dot add an event listener. Okay, so the event I'm listening for, it's a click event, opposed to quotation marks. It's a click event, and once this event is fired, do the following for me in the callback. I'm going to firstly do an if statement because I want to check in what state is the password. Is it visible or is it invisible? So I'm going to say if, okay, if, I'm going to do the following. I'm going to say if password, if this input, the type is equal to, let's say equal to text, which means it's visible. Okay, if the input, the type equal to text, then I want to change it to password, else just change it back to text. Are you guys with me? So I'm saying that if this input type, if this password input type is text, meaning that this will going to be visible, or let's change it over because on default it's password. Let's say if this input type is password, then it's going to show like this. Let's change it to text, and then it's going to display the input, or else let's change it from text to password. You guys are with me? Okay, how we're going to do that is by doing the following. Let's just say password input that type is equal to text, and I'm also going to do the same for the confirm password type. I'm going to also change this one to text because I want both of them to show, and you're able to read on both of these fields once you have toggled that over there. Okay, and then I'm going to just change the icon over here, and I'm going to say I called it visibility toggle dot inner HTML is going to be equal to my icon, and I'm going to pass through here, which is just a different icon from this one. With this one has a slash, the other one doesn't have a slash. So I'm just going to go to my HTML quickly to copy that icon and quickly see. There we go. So this is the icon. Let's copy that, and I'm just going to paste it in there, and the difference is that the other one doesn't have a slash. There we go, which means it's going to be the visible I, and then I can just copy everything in this if statement as is, because I'm just going to invert everything. I'm going to say instead of text, so change it to password, change this one to password, and put the slash back. And let's quickly save this and see if this works. So if I go ahead and type, and then I click on there we go, you see this already works. So basically that's that click event that we have just hooked up over there. Great stuff, that works. So let's go further with this. So now that we do have our toggle already running, let's do the checks. We're going to start out first with the length of the value given unto us. So that's going to be also an event on the input, the password.input, add an event listener, and this event I'm going to call this one change. So this is going to run on the change event, and I'm going to do the following. So on the change event, missing a bracket over there. Cool, I think this is going to work. So let's do some couple of if statements. So first things first, I'm going to check the length. If the length is less than 8, then I must display an error. If not, let's do the second. Let's go on to the next validation. So I'm going to say if password.input dot value dot length is less than 8 characters. Okay, so if it's less than 8 characters, do the following for me. So it's going to show me a error, and then also it's going to set some attributes and etc. So this is my if statement. The reason why I'm not doing this now is that when I was doing this tutorial, I saw that I was repeating my code a couple of times. So then I've decided I'm not gonna repeat that code. I'm just gonna move it over to a method. And I think let me firstly do that method now, and then we can continue with this. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna say invalid input. So invalid input is equal to this function over here. So this is the same as going and saying function invalid input and then doing this. So this is the same as doing this, if I can explain it that way. So I'm going to accept a param over here, because the only thing that's going to be different of this if statement is just the text that being displayed. So it's going to say characters must be 8, must contain special character, must have a number. So the text is going to be different. So then my parameter over here, it's going to be one parameter, which is text. Okay, that I'm going to accept. So first things first, what I'm going to do is say display error. So my display error that inner HTML is going to be whatever text is being passed through over here. Okay, so if I'm at the part 8 characters, it's going to be that text. If it's the special character text, it's going to be that text that's being displayed over there. Okay, and then let's go ahead and call on, if you guys still remember, that root I set up there at the top. So this root allows me to manipulate that CSS variable that I set up over there. So I can say root dot style dot set a property. Okay, so the property I am setting, if I go quickly to my CSS, is this display error. So I can just go copy that and say the display error, set it to a new one, which is just going to be 0 pixels. So on 0 pixels it's going to display, so it's going to show over here, and then on -45 it's just going to go back, that margin is going to go back down over there. Okay, and then the next one I'm going to go for, I'm going to say password input dot class list dot remove a class. So what class am I removing here? I'm going to remove the valid class. So I'm going to say input dash valid. In case you have completed all of this and then has the green border, but then over here the password doesn't match, I need that green border to disappear and show the red border. That's what I'm doing over here. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing and go and say password dot input dot class list dot add class. So the class I'm adding, if you guys have guessed it right, it's the invalid class, that red border class. Okay, there we go. So that is my method over there, which I've set up. So this method I'm going to use a couple of times. I'm going to use it in this if statement here on top. So let me quickly show you what do I mean with that one. So it's going to go ahead and say, I can go now and say, if this is the case, what I will do is I'm just going to say invalid input, and then I'm going to pass through in between quotations marks, because I want it to be a string, password must be more than, let's say, 8 characters. Okay, so this text over here is what I am putting through that param, and then it sets this inner HTML equal to this text over here. Okay, you guys with me? And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to say confirm password dot set an attribute. So the set attribute is called disabled, because I want this guy to stay disabled if there's an error. And I'm going to say, is it disabled? I'm going to say true, which is a boolean option, so I can set it to true or false. So over there I'm setting it to true, and then what I'm going to do over here, I'm just going to say return. So what this return does is to say, if you come into this if statement, you have done all of this, don't go to the next if statement, just break out of this entire change event, and then once someone types and clicks out of this box again, rerun this change event, and then just do the validations again. Okay, so that's the length one. Let's go ahead and say, let's quickly test this. If I'm not mistaken, this should work. I'm just gonna save, and let's say 1 2, that is 6 characters. If I click away, it's not displaying. Why? Let's quickly see. I probably am missing something. Let's quickly check over here. And code type error, can't access property length. This is where my issue is. This is just supposed to be value, and not node value. So if I do that, and let's check again, let's say 1 2, there we go. So we have our first validation showing already. Let's go on to the next one, which is going to check for special character. Okay, so our next if statement, as I've said, let's check if we do have any special characters, and if not, we will go ahead and say show us an error because we don't have any special characters. So I'm going to say if, which is another if statement, and over here I'm going to do some regular expressions. Okay, so I'm going to try to explain this the best I can, but just follow along for now. I'm going to do forward slash because this is how you do regular expressions in forward slashes. I'm going to do my array bracket, and I'm going to say from capital A to capital Z, from lowercase a to lowercase z, and then between 0 and 9. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm giving it a condition. I'm saying do a test for me. Let me just go ahead and say dot test. Okay, I'll say do a test for me. Whatever value is passed in here, okay, check if it does contain capital letters or lowercase alphabetic letters or a number between 0 and 9. If it does, it's going to return true. You with me? Okay, but if I add this character over here, this caret character, it's saying that check for me if there's any character within this value that is not found between this given conditions. So check for me, do we have something in this value that is not alphabetic nor numeric, which is not a number or an alphabet? If so, it's going to return true, but if we don't find one, it's going to return false. Over here I can just go ahead and say if this guy return false, then do this condition for me. Okay, so if in this value, and the value is going to be password.input.value, if within this value is no special characters, meaning there is no character outside the alphabet or the numbers from 0 to 1, then it's going to return false, and then we're just going to have to display an error. So I can just go ahead and copy that, paste it here, and then I can say password must, and just change that, password must contain special, let's say special character. Okay, so I can say password must contain special character over there, and then I'm going to do the same over here. I can actually just copy this because I'm going to need you to stay disabled, and I'm going to say return. Okay, so if I save this, let's go ahead and say 1, that's 3, 6, 9, so that's more than 8. If I click away, it must say password must contain special characters because there is no special character within that value given. Okay, so let's go ahead. Now we're going to do the last if statement, which is just to check if there is a number, and we're also going to use a regular expression, but this one is actually in the docs of regular expression where you just do a /d. So this d is to check for number. Then I can just go and say test again. We're testing the password input value, and then I'm saying if this also returns false, meaning there is no number found, and then do this if statement for me. Okay, hope you guys are still following along. If you got lost somewhere along the way, please hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you want me to explain something more in depth. Hit me up in the comment. And as with all the other projects and other future coming projects, I'm going to insert a link into the description where you guys can download these files from my GitHub repo, and then you can just manipulate it or change it as you want to, or even just take a closer look at the code. Okay, so let's go ahead. What I'm going to do here is basically the same. I'm just going to copy everything here, and I'm going to paste it over there, and I'm going to change this to say password must contain a number. Okay, so if I save this, now we can quickly go check. If I say that's 9 with a special character, but it's going to say password must contain a number. So I can actually make this lowercase because it makes no sense making it uppercase. Okay, save. Let's test this again. There we go. There we go. So our validations are set up over here, and now we just need to do the final setup in this change event of this input where we reset everything to say, okay, all of those conditions were met. What do we want it to do now? So the first thing I wanted to do, I'm going to go ahead and say root dot style dot set property, and the property I am setting is this one because I want to reset it back. So it's going to be that, and I'm going to say set it back to 45 pixels. It's actually minus 45 pixels. Okay, so if I go ahead and type in 1 now, this thing must disappear automatically because it must pick it up that all the validations, all the requirements have been met. Okay, that's what I'm doing with this one. And then I'm gonna go ahead and say my display error dot inner HTML. I'm just gonna reset you to blank, and then I'm gonna ahead and say password dot input dot class list, and I'm gonna say dot add. So the class I'm going to add is also my green border. I'm gonna say input dash valid because I wanted to have a green border now that it's valid. And I'm also going to go ahead and say confirm password, my confirm password, and I'm going to say remove the attribute, and the attribute I'm removing over here is the disabled attribute because now I want you to actually type in that password again to make sure that it is the same. So if I go ahead and save this, let's quickly check. So I'm gonna say 1 2, so that is 6 numbers. If I click away, it's gonna show me must contain 8 characters. I'm gonna add 2 more characters. It's gonna say special character. If I add an @ sign, it's gonna say a number. If I add 1, then it's gonna give me the green border saying I've met all of these requirements, and now I'm able to confirm that password. Are you guys still with me? Okay, now let's go ahead and hook up the last one over here, which is the confirmation of the password. We're just taking this value, comparing it with this value, and also displaying an error, or just adding a green border if everything is as need be. Okay, let's go ahead and say, I'll actually encourage you guys over here to pause the video and just try to see if you can figure out yourself how you would go about checking these two values together, and also adding that over here using this method over here, adding that error notification right here on top using this method on your own. But if not, if you're too lazy, I don't mind doing it for you. I'm gonna go ahead and say add an event, the same change event, and then I'm just gonna call in this callback. I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna do an if statement. Okay, I'm gonna say if password input dot value, the value given there, is not equal to confirm password dot value, meaning that this one's value and this one are not the same, then do the following for me. Okay, so what you're gonna do is the same as we have done here on top. I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this. I'm gonna say password must be the same. Password must be the same. And then I'm just gonna say confirm password set attribute disabled true. Do I need it to be? Nope, I don't need it to be disabled, because you must be able to just change whatever you've typed in wrong there to match the one there on top. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add that red border over there. I'm going to say confirm password dot class list dot add. Okay, and then the class I'm adding, it's called input dash invalid. So give me that red border over there. And I'm also thinking yeah, I think this should work. Let's quickly check, because I want to check, am I going to need to say let me just refresh that. That's disabled. That's 9 at 1. That's me. So I'm going to say 9 at 2. There we go. So it gives the red border on both of them, because this is not the same. So if those passwords are the same, do the one on top for me, so I can just go ahead and copy everything over here. Because what I wanted to do now is to say display error must go back to 45. So this must go back to minus 45 pixels. Clear it out, and then add the valid class over here and add a valid class over here. So this one I can actually just remove this. I don't need this over here, and this one I can actually just duplicate. So I'm gonna say confirm password dot class list dot add, and I am adding the input dash valid on both of them so that they can be green. So if I save this, and then let's go ahead and check quickly here. So I can go back and say, let me just toggle this on. That's 3, 6. Okay. And that is 8. Special character. That's a special character. Number. That's a number. Now that is correct. Let's go ahead and say, and then I'm going to say SD. I'm going to say add 2. So now it's saying password must be the same. If I change this to 1. And then I have green borders telling me this password is the same. Now I'm able to update my password. I know this one's been a lengthy one, guys. I hope that you stayed with me, that you understand everything that we done here today. As I've said, if you guys really like this type of tutorials, please do subscribe to my channel, hit the bell notification so you get notified the next time I publish a new video, and do like my videos. It helps for some weird reason. Until next time, guys, stay safe.